welcome back to League Night Podcast. First of all, I want to say thank you to everyone that's been watching recently. We've got a lot of new people in. It's awesome. We've got a big influx of viewers, which is super cool. A lot of them finding us through Facebook, USSSA page, that sort of thing. So we very much appreciate it. If you have not liked our Facebook page yet, or if you've not subscribed to this channel on YouTube, please do so. That would be awesome. If you're listening on Spotify, please go join both of those as well. That would be super awesome. Write us a review, something like that. We appreciate it, everybody. Want to shout out again, as we've shouted out before, Ryan at Riot Sports. Apparently one of you, I don't know who it was, we have no idea.
Who you are.
One of you was awesome, called Riot. Just called Riot randomly, mentioned the podcast and mentioned Ryan, and was like, I need to talk to this guy about some gear. Apparently Ryan got a call from his boss, and he was like, what is this podcast? We need to know about this. This is cool. So awesome. Thanks, guys. Totally unexpected. Absolutely love it.
The president of Riot Sports called Ryan personally and said, what can you tell me? So again, thank you. It is leading to good things, and we hope to have some news for you in the future.
Yeah, cannot beat that. Absolutely love it. That is awesome. Yeah, so again, big things. We've got a lot more new watchers, which is great. A lot more new viewers, but not a lot of people that are viewing have subscribed yet. So we're encouraging to please go right down there. It's probably like over here somewhere. Just go down there and push the subscribe button. Ring the bell. Isn't that what we're supposed to say? I think that's what you're supposed to say in every YouTube video
Subscribe,
now.
rate, and review.
Yes, do all those things. We very much appreciate it. That way you know when new ones come out. So we've done a few recently that were kind of on site, where we had the T-Work video. I did a swing review video last week or 2 weeks ago, depends on when this comes out. So we're kind of back in the podcast seats. Jason's back from his little mini seeing family and friends vacay. We're back. We're going to do a little bit of podcasting. We do hope to get back to some outdoor videos in the future too. We've got some things lined up that I think is going to be pretty cool. I think you guys are going to like it, with some guest stars, which will be awesome. Hey. Yeah, right? So
we're also very
go ahead.
interested in knowing what y'all would like to hear us talk about in the field, not just on the pod. So we had somebody on Facebook comment on Cam's swing breakdown video that they'd be interested in some outfield videos about how to go back on a ball. Shout out to you. We will get that covered and get that posted in the near future. But if there are other topics that you're interested in, whether it be something that we talk about here in studio on the pod, or if you want to get some live in the field practical video on a specific topic, we'd love to hear it. Best place to engage with us for that is on Facebook. The link to our Facebook page is in the comment section of YouTube, or the description of the video.
Yep.
Highly recommend you follow us on there. That's where we have the most engagement, and we'll post a lot of content. So best place to interact with us, ask questions, give us suggestions for stuff you'd like to see, and we will make sure to get that covered for you.
Absolutely. Awesome. All right, enough housekeeping. Time to talk about stuff. Today what we're going to talk about, because we've actually had some people ask about this, so we figured, hey, let's make a list and work through it. We are going to
twice. It is
yeah, that's true. I checked it a few times, so at least twice. But we are going to go talking about game situations. So specific game situations, especially ones that can kind of turn the tide of either an inning or an entire game, or whether you keep a lead or lose a lead, that sort of thing. So we definitely want to go over those and kind of try to... We can't promise that if you do all these things, they're going to work every time. But what we can do is say, if you lean towards these directions, then your outcome is going to be the way you want it a higher percentage of the time than it would be otherwise. So again, nothing we can tell you is going to say you're going to win every game that you're up in the last inning and you don't lose a lead. We can't say that. But what we can do is give you some tips on how to get through those situations.
So one of the things that is near and dear to my heart and I feel like happens all the time in slow pitch softball, is when you're the home team, you have a lead, and you're playing in a game that's up against the clock. So you come off the field, you're holding a small lead, and the ump says 5 minutes left, 3 minutes left. I can't tell you personally how many times I haven't finished that game at the plate. And not me personally. I want my team to finish the game while at the plate. I don't want to give that team another chance.
Right.
This just happened to Cam and I in a recent tournament that we played in.
Yep.
We lost that game twice.
Yeah,
we lost
did.
that game the first time by not holding the lead long enough. And then we lost the game the next inning when we didn't score enough to win the game again.
Right.
So it's near and dear to our hearts, and we wanted to talk about some strategies about how to prevent some of the heartbreak that we have experienced personally in our tournament and league games.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, again, one of the big things, again, because as Jason mentioned, we were talking about the clock. If you ever go to tournaments, usually most league games too, it's very rare that you're not playing under a clock. So when you do get to that point where the ump is actually announcing, hey, there's only so many minutes, or I've actually played in leagues, this was awesome, that had the scoreboard running all the time, and they have the clock on the scoreboard. So you can just look at it, and you know how much time you have left. At that point, when we're in this situation, a big part of it is patience. And that is sometimes the hardest thing to do, myself included. I've been guilty of this in the past too, where I'll come up to bat, and instead of, I think a good rule of thumb here, and we used to do this a lot when I played baseball, was take until you get a strike. Like, it doesn't matter. Just every batter, just take till you get a strike. If the first pitch he throws is a strike, great. Now you're still alive. You're still good to go. You got to be a little bit more careful at the plate at that point. But if you're nervous at the plate, so's the pitcher. Like, he's going to be nervous up there too. So if the pitcher's not quite on his game and he starts throwing balls, get you to 3-1. Obviously, if you get to 3-1, in that sort of situation, probably shouldn't swing. I'm probably not going to swing. Again, 3-1, other times in the game may be different, but when you're working against clock like that, probably don't swing at that. And then the other big thing too is that if you're, let's say the pitcher goes up, you go up 3-1, and he walks you. He's thrown 4 in a row, and he just put a runner on base. Well, it's even more nerve-wracking for him at that point. So now, maybe he throws 2 or 3 more balls to the next batter, and maybe he doesn't walk that guy, but now he gets nervous and he gives that guy a cookie, and you can destroy it. Any number of things can happen, but I think the big thing there is using the clock. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I think what you're going to get is one of two situations for a pitcher. They're going to be in cookie mode, which means they're just going to groove strikes. So even if you don't get the first pitch, you take it. Remember, they're throwing it to the catcher. The catcher has to pick it up, throw it back. You assume that the catcher picks it up cleanly, right?
Yeah.
You can shave time off the clock in the mechanics of just throwing between the pitcher and the catcher. So if they're in cookie mode, you get a good pitch to hit, you take it, you shave some time off, they're likely going to throw you another really good pitch to hit.
Yeah.
That pitcher's up there making sure you swing. The last thing they want to do is walk you and throw balls because they know it takes time.
Yeah.
So even if you take a strike, the likelihood of you getting another strike is very high. They're not in the business of throwing around you at that point in time because pitching around you takes time, right?
Yep.
They want to get strikes. You put the ball in play. Their job is to get you to swing. So they're going to throw something that you're going to swing at. Yeah,
and that's especially if you're playing. A lot of the tournaments we've been playing recently have a very low home run limit. And if your team has already met that limit, he's absolutely grooving you strikes, especially to your power hitters. He's like, hit it out. That's easy. That's a one pitch. You hit the home run, dead ball out, and move on to the next. We got one out. So absolutely, that's the goal, I think, for a lot of pitchers. But as we mentioned, sometimes they're nervous. Sometimes they want to groove strikes, but sometimes they just can't do it. So,
and that brings you to pitcher number 2. Pitcher number 2 is tense.
Yeah.
They're so nervous about throwing strikes, they have zero feel for the zone. So you take until they throw a strike, and then you have to protect, right?
Right.
But if you watch them throw 3 consecutive balls, there's no business anybody should swing until they throw a strike. And even then, still use really good plate discipline, right?
Yeah.
Just because somebody has a strike on you doesn't mean you need to go fishing.
Right.
Make sure it's a strike. The worst thing that can happen is you swing with no strikes on you, and it's a ball. There's very little excuse for that. Yeah. Even if you thought you could have crushed it 400 feet, if it's a ball, don't swing. You have another strike in your back pocket.
Right.
And it's going to take time. So that's the really important thing. From a more nuanced perspective, I've seen this happen situationally with one of the older guys that we've played with, where he'll come up and he knows he's slow.
Yeah.
He will specifically strike out.
Yeah.
So as not to ground into a double play.
Absolutely. So
that is the worst thing you could possibly have happen to you when you're trying to protect a lead on offense, is you ground into a double play.
Yeah.
Because it takes 0 time to accrue an extra out.
Yes. Yeah, a strikeout in that situation is, if you're going to make an out, the strikeout is the optimal option, because it takes, assuming it takes the most number of pitches, which uses the most time, and again, you don't give an extra free out by grounding into a double play or something like that. So, yeah, absolutely agree with that for sure.
You're up there, you're looking for a strike, right? But you're going to take that first pitch until they get to that second strike on you, right? So just take until you get that first strike.
Yeah.
Because either they're going to walk you, or you have a 2-strike count, which is okay.
Yep.
After that first strike, step out. Give yourself a second to recollect yourself.
Call time.
Make sure you call time out. We learned in a tournament that we just played in, if you step out of the box and don't call time out, the pitcher can pitch.
Yeah.
And we had our pitcher, shout out Jay-Z for knowing the rules.
And shout out
a little bit
Ski.
of an assist from Ski.
Yeah.
We had a guy step out of the box. He didn't call time. Jason threw him a cookie. Strike 3 called. He wasn't even standing in the batter's box.
Yep. Struck him out, and he was 15 feet from the plate. Like, he wasn't even remotely close to the plate at that point, because he had stepped out. He's facing another direction, taking practice swings. Basically, either trying to calm himself down or trying to make our pitcher nervous, whichever it was. But he didn't call timeout. And so that was that. And honestly, I was in the out. Well, we were both in the outfield. I didn't even know what happened at first. And then once we were able to go back into the dugout and ask, they kind of explained what went down. I had no idea what was going on, but it's like, well, he's out, so whatever, I'll take it, But awesome, again, heads up play there for sure.
You take that few seconds, right? You're going to burn 5-10 seconds just mentally preparing yourself for 2 strikes, right? You're changing your outlook. You go up there, you're going to wait until you get that first strike, and then you say, okay, deep breath. You bat in 2-strike counts all the time.
All the time.
Nothing changes. You just go up there looking to put the ball in play and hitting it hard.
Yep.
You may expand your zone a little bit, but again, plate discipline. Know what's a strike and what's not a strike, and you'll be just fine.
Yeah, and if it's close, again, know your situation. If there's a runner on first and it's close and you're afraid you might ground out and get a double play, don't swing. Strike out. Let the umpire make the call. Maybe the umpire will give you a freebie. They do that sometimes, not on purpose, but umpires are human. So let it be in their hands at that point. Usually I would say don't leave anything in the umpire's hands, but when you're trying to drain clock like that, let them do it. Let them take the time, go slow, whatever it might be, for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. I mean, think about all the times when you're at the plate or you're in the field and somebody throws a pitch and the ball dribbles away from the catcher. It happens all the time. You have those really deep batter's boxes. It hits off the edge of the plate and it ricochets, and it takes them a few seconds to go get it, and they have to throw it back, and they have to move back to behind the plate.
Get reset, yeah, exactly.
All of that stuff adds up, right? So you steal 10 seconds here, 20 seconds there. You make them pitch to you for an extra 30 seconds. You alone can earn one of those 5 minutes in your individual at bat.
Right.
And then if you get on base, it all resets, right?
Yep.
You've burned a minute, they didn't get an out, and now you've got 4 minutes. And if everybody behind you follows the same protocol, you're going to get out of that inning with the clock going off, and you're still holding the bat, and you're playing again.
Yeah, which is just demoralizing for the defense. Like, because again, we've been in the opposite situation where we're the ones in the field, and the pitcher walks somebody, in that inning, and again, you're just it's already kind of demoralizing. Not as much during the middle of the game, but when you're behind, or when you're kind of, I guess, pressing to try to, we have to make a comeback here. It's just that much harder when everybody's like sighing out there because, I can't believe that just happened. Something that I had no control over. And now all of a sudden there's somebody on first. So yeah, that's definitely can put a hurt on another team if you can waste some time like that, for sure. So
it's a way to continue to impose your advantageous place in the game.
Yeah.
And put even more pressure, right?
Yeah.
As you mentioned, the more that you're stressing them, both mentally and just like having them clinch a little bit more, the more opportunity you're going to have to, tried to throw that ball a little too hard to get you out at first, and I made an errant throw.
Yep.
Anything that we can get to make them a little bit more uncomfortable is just a benefit to us, and that clock ticking away in the back of their mind, or if you're playing in a game at the scoreboard, it's going to be right in front of their face.
Yep.
And the more you expose them to that stress, the better.
Yeah. And again, a lot of this that we're talking about right now is a little bit, it's not a little bit, it's a lot mental part of the game. And I even recall the field that I used to play USSSA League in back in Illinois, they had a scoreboard running all the time, and they had the timer on the scoreboard all the time. And every time, like if we were in this situation, my team was in this situation, every time a new batter went to bat, we would always call out to the batter, be like, hey, 3 minutes 45. And then not only is that reminding them, hey, be smart here, but it's also reminding the pitcher that he's only got so much time left, or the entire defense on that matter. So then the next guy comes up, hey, 2:52, 2 minutes 52 seconds. And it's the same thing when like if a pitcher walks a guy and then he throws 2 more balls to the next guy, that's when you start calling, hey, he's thrown 6 balls in a row. The pitcher hears that, obviously. Hey, that's 7 in a row. Hey, that's 6 in a row. It's a mental part of the game. You're not being a jerk. You're reminding, but you're also got to play a little bit of that mental game. It's gamesmanship. It's not like you're not trash talking a guy, but you're playing the game. That's how it's supposed to be. And I think that's the thing that gets lost a little bit sometimes. Maybe not as much at tournaments, but certainly in sometimes in leagues, unless some people have bad blood already. That's part of the gamesmanship gets lost a little bit, because I think it's a little bit more leisurely, but that's all part of it. I think that should be done more often, but
it reminds me a lot of you at a basketball game, and the home crowd starts counting down the shot clock second or two too early, and the other team will panic and throw up a shot before they're ready.
Yep.
Same kind of idea, right? You're creating unnecessary stress that works to your advantage.
Yeah. I just saw, what was it? I just saw a video, or a short video the other day. I cannot remember which college it is. It's a college baseball program that when they're at home and a pitcher throws more, walks somebody, the entire crowd just starts chanting. I can't remember the exact chant, but they're basically like that's 5 balls, that's 5 balls, that's 5 balls. If he throws another balls, that's 6 balls. That's the entire thing. And then when he finally throws a strike, they all stand up and clap and cheer. And that's for the opposing pitcher, of course. But
are you proposing we start doing this in the dugout?
I'm not saying we don't, but we probably shouldn't do that.
Brandon Lynn, if you're listening, your team needs to do this. The Black Sheep are the appropriate team to start this trend.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty maybe looked down upon. You might make a few enemies at that tournament if you were doing that, but that would be an extreme version of that. But again, as you can imagine, you're getting in somebody's head when you do that. Sure. So
any last thoughts on how to help close the game when you're the home team? You got the hammer, you're up.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's pretty much it. You just got to be aware of the game situation. You got to be aware of the time on the clock and be aware that your job is no longer to get the most hits and all those things. It's not even your job to score the most runs anymore. You got to remember your job right now is to get through this half inning, or to not finish this half inning before the time runs out. And so you just kind of have to switch the mindset a little bit, I think. And that usually will do it. You just got to make sure everybody knows, right? Yeah. Everybody needs to know what's going on. Everybody keep reminding each other. There's nothing wrong with that. Every time somebody goes up, I tell you to swing flat all the time, even though I know you know to swing flat. But sometimes just hearing it right before you go to go up to the plate, say, hey, nothing until you get a strike. Just remind everybody as they go up. I think that's just the best way to make sure everybody's on the same team. And again, it creates some bonding when everybody is working together like that, even more specifically towards a goal. I mean, you're always trying to win together, but like if everybody's on the same page with a specific strategy, I think it's even better. So
yeah, I mean, you can always use some of the FIFA rules where you kind of drag your feet by substituting players.
Sure.
I mean,
sure.
You get a guy on base, put a courtesy runner on.
Sure.
There's a couple reasons, right? One is it takes time to sub somebody out, right?
Yeah.
Bringing him off the dugout, putting him in the dugout. The other thing is that is the perfect time to get a better base runner out there to prevent those double plays.
Yeah. Yep.
And we've talked about that in the past about, don't be offended if somebody's faster than you.
Yeah.
If you get doubled up and you lose a game because you didn't feel like coming off the field for your pride.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. So, pinch running to stay out of double plays is great. You're totally not so fine. Much pinch running to score runs is to prevent outs.
Yes. Which, again, that's one of those mindset shifts that you have to go into when you get into this late game type of situation. So
one guy that I believe has leaned into this the most is Ski. We mentioned Ski knowing the rules.
Yep.
This guy gets on base at maybe a 700 clip. He is the Kevin Euclid of Slowpitch softball. And if you don't get that reference, the Greek god of walks, it's from Moneyball.
Yep.
Also, for you Bay Area folk, Kevin Euclid married into a family who's from the Bay Area and has a brewery in Los Gatos, and he has a beer called the Greek God of Hops. Check it out if you haven't been. It's a great spot.
Perfect.
But I bring this up specifically because he fully embraces the fact that his job is to get on base and then let somebody else take over to better enhance the team's opportunities to score runs.
Yeah.
And he loves it. He sees the value in doing that. And at the end of the day, the scorebook looks like he scored a run. The team scored a run when they may not have. And it comes better for everybody. So, I think that's something that we could all learn from, that, you're most likely never going to be the best of the best of the best, just because there can only be one of those.
Yep.
And so identifying an opportunity to give your team a better chance to win should hopefully be something that you're considering heavily.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you win championships as a team, you don't win championships as an individual. And so, anything you can do to add value is always something to be considered.
Yeah. And if you have to look at it this way, if you win the game, you get at least 4 more at bats. So if you're there to hit, and this is going to be your last at bat if you lose, go win yourself 4 more. Go out there, give yourself a chance for another dinger. Whatever it might be. So yeah, but I think that's pretty good for that. But we did talk about doing the situation which is the opposite. So like if you're holding a lead on defense. So go ahead and walk us into that one.
So same situation, only difference is you're now in the field.
Yeah.
So you could be home team and you're up and you just don't want to have to go hit again, which at the end of the day, if you can win the game, go win the game however you need to.
Yep.
You don't want to roll those dice and say, well, it's okay if we're losing the game, we'll just go earn it back. Most of the time you could probably do that, but you have to do it.
Yeah.
If you win when you have the chance to win, you can't lose. You can quote me on
Solid
that.
point. So, I am going to quote you on that. That's beautiful.
So things to think about. One thing I think you've seen me do a lot is when I come out to the field in that last inning, I want to know the specific number of runs that the other team is chasing.
Yes.
Why is that important? As an outfielder, you need to know specifically when you have to be more aggressive with A, your positioning, and B, your throwing.
Yeah.
And knowing that the team is chasing 9, if somebody's going home from second, let them. There's no value in you throwing home at a 5 to 10% chance of making an out to let any other base runners advance.
Yep.
Right? That run doesn't matter. You have 8 more to protect.
Right.
But if you put a runner in scoring position and don't get that out at home, you're now putting your team in a bigger bind by allowing those trail runners to advance. The biggest thing in those situations is if you're still protecting, keep the trail runners from getting a free base.
Yes, for sure.
You know, from an infielder's perspective, I would assume it's knowing when and when not to throw.
Yeah.
You know, if it's a really hard play, maybe you just let them have that. Go get the next one, as opposed to trying to make an errant throw off balance and giving them a runner in scoring position for free.
Yeah.
It's playing conservative, yet smart softball, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think if you're afraid of not knowing what to do, like as far as your decision to make, as an outfielder, you can always just throw it to the cutoff. You know, no problem. Throw it to the cutoff, let them figure it out. And again, always a safe bet because your cutoff usually is pretty close to second base. Most of the time you're preventing somebody from taking second, even if that person does score. But the nice thing is that let's say you throw it to the cutoff, who's probably a short fielder, middle infielder, second baseman. They have a much better throw, maybe more accurate throw they can make to home if they needed to. And if the infield is working as a team like they should be, at least I know I do this when I'm in the infield, is when that ball's coming in from the outfield to the cutoff, I'm yelling to the cutoff what to do. Like I'm yelling, hold it, eat it, or I'm yelling, throw home, shoot them home, whatever, you know. So there's the ability for a decision to be made in between that throw. If you try to throw all the way home from outfield and you throw a guy out, sure, it's like this crazy, amazing ESPN top 10 play, but it doesn't happen very often. And if you've got a lead, it doesn't matter. That run, if you're up by 9, that run means literally nothing. But if you keep doing that and you keep giving them extra bases, now all of a sudden the run differential is 3. Now it matters. Now all of a sudden you've put yourself in a bad place. So I think that's the big key, is to use your advantage when you have it.
Also, you know, from a fielding perspective, being much more conservative and focusing on keeping the ball in front of you and not getting to the wall. Because the worst thing that happens is you try to get a little aggressive and make a do-or-die play that's not in a do-or-die situation. Mm-hmm. And especially when you're playing U-Trip and you have 3-man outfields, the likelihood that somebody's in a really good place to back you up is a lot smaller. Yeah. Especially for you corner outfielders that are going towards the line. No one's there to help you.
Nobody.
If you make a do-or-die play and you miss, that's 2 bases minimum.
That minimum, Usually, if it gets to a corner, I mean, and you dove for a ball and missed, they might score. Like, it's not just, you know, a double turned into a home run. Mm-hmm. It's a big difference if you're a corner outfielder going to the corner. Like, that's a big deal. Yeah.
And then when it comes to an infielder fielding a cutoff, your main priority is stop the ball.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if you wear it.
Just don't try knock it down.
Yeah, literally just stop the ball.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've seen somebody try to play a short hop off the side and it skips past.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, it's in the dugout, and that's a 2-base award.
Yeah, just take a knee and just wear it on the chest, whatever you have to do, let it hop, just completely body block it, just like a catcher would. Just hold it there. I know I've done that even when it's not like crazy dire game situations. I've done that when I'm playing third base and a ball's coming in maybe from the right side because I know there's a dugout behind me. Like I'll just I'll just drop down and just knock the thing down just to make sure it's sitting in front of me and nobody's running anywhere and nobody's getting free bases. Because, again, if we're talking about frustrating situations on a softball field, especially if you are someone not involved, that's super frustrating. You know, your pitcher is going to get frustrated. It's going to be harder for him to pitch. The rest of the team out there that maybe wasn't part of the catch and throw or whatever it was, now they're like, oh, we gotta deal with this some more. So it's part of it is doing the right thing, and part of it is keeping the morale up. You know, there's something to be said for that too. So,
no, that's a huge piece that you have to consider. Is, you know, we've talked about this before, is in the outfield, if you watch the infield throw the ball around, it can be so demoralizing.
Yes.
Or if your pitcher can't find the zone and they're just walking batter after batter, you lose your focus a little bit, you get a little bit frustrated. It can be tough. So, you know, keeping the simple plays simple, and keeping everybody on a level playing ground, you're going to find yourself being more successful. The plays will be made, and you'll win more games.
Yeah, you got the quotes today. You got the simple plays simple. You keep the simple plays simple. What was the first one? It was, if you play to win the game, you win the game. I don't even remember, but it was great.
Don't worry, this is being recorded.
Absolutely, I can always look back. It's fantastic. So.
Because heaven forbid, and this kind of transitions into our next piece of this, is you get into one of those positions where it's a tight game.
Yep.
And we kind of wanted to get into, as an outfielder, when do you find yourself in a do or die position, and how do you address that? You know, what are you doing differently? Where are you positioning yourself differently?
Right.
And then as a pitcher, what might you need to do to optimize the potential for your team to hold that lead? So an example would be, maybe, you know, you're the away team and you're holding a lead. And I think the important part here is you're the away team.
Yeah.
Because if they take the lead, it's over.
Right.
So they're the away team. It's a 1-run game, or maybe it's a tie game and you're trying to hold a tie. And they have runners on second and third. Walk the next guy. Give him the base.
Just give it to him.
You're creating 3 extra locations to make outs that you didn't have a minute ago.
Yeah. And at that point, too, there's no question. If the ball's in the infield, there's no question where it goes. Yep. Nobody has to think twice. Everybody knows you're throwing home. That's it.
So in situations like that, it's really important to create force outs if you don't have them.
Yeah.
So if you have an open bag at first, or you have an open bag at first and at second, there's argument to be made that you walk the next 2 guys.
Yeah.
Unless you know the batter is one that's a favorable matchup for you and you feel like you can take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Create those extra opportunities to get the outs, because those base runners don't matter.
Yeah.
The game's over. They're not going to score anyways.
Right. Yeah, and if like you were saying, if there's a guy that's come up that's hit 2 dead ball outs already that game, yeah, I'm pitching to him and I'm throwing him cookies. Like, you know what I mean? I'm saying tee up, big man, and take it out. You know, let's go for it. That's what I'm doing. But if there's a guy that is 4 for 4 and has 2 doubles, I'm probably going to avoid that guy a little bit, you know, or at least not give him anything to really hit. The only caveat I would say to the maybe walk 2 guys that you're talking about is if you are playing co-ed, if one of the women comes up, some rules sometimes if you walk one of the female players that's in front of a male player, or vice versa. It's the other way around. Vice versa.
In front of a woman, some leagues will give the woman the opportunity to not hit.
Yeah, just take the walk. Sometimes they get to take 2 base walks, so it just, you have to know your league and know what you're playing. But
that's a good point.
Arguments could be made. Again, adding extra force outs when there normally wouldn't be any, and you don't really lose anything for it, not a bad plan. So definitely something to consider if you're the pitcher. Well, usually like pitcher and catcher or team captain are kind of conversing on this, and they're deciding what they should do. So it's not always unilateral, but yeah, I mean, that's something you got to think about is an intentional walk a worthy thing to do? And sometimes it is. I think sometimes it is.
It can be beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely, especially late in a ball game. Usually doesn't happen a whole lot earlier in the games, but late in a ball game, it can be a legitimate strategy. So
I think the only other thing that gets argued a lot in the outfield is if there are less than 2 outs
Yeah.
and the winning run is at third base,
Yeah.
you need to be in as close as you can to make sure you can throw home to get that person out.
Right. Yeah. You want to be at whatever distance you can make a throw home.
Yeah, because if you're too deep and you get the out, they still
Doesn't
win
matter.
the game.
Yeah.
If the ball gets over your head or you catch the ball going back, guy's still going to score.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. So got to know that one.
But with 2 outs, I've heard people argue that you should still play in. And I would argue play at your normal depth.
Yeah.
It's just like, just get an out. You don't need to change your positioning because you just need to get the out.
Yeah, because I mean, at that point, I think maybe the argument for that, for the people that are arguing otherwise, is that if they hit a single, then the game's over. But if you think about, at least when I think about most of the singles that are hit, most of the time they're hit in front of the outfielders, but they're not hit high enough that an outfielder could have made a play on it, even if they were 30 feet closer. Like usually, I mean, sometimes, but normally that's not the case. And I don't know, maybe it's just me and what I am better at, but if I'm an outfielder and I know that's my situation and they hit a ball in front of me, I'm much better at going in and getting that ball than I am trying to go backwards. So I will always err on the side of maybe just slightly back of where I might normally be, so that way I can charge a ball. You know, if I have to like slide or whatever to get it, I'm going to have a much higher chance of doing that than I am if I have to go back on a ball and then try to make a throw or whatever it might be. So, yeah, I think you're right.
I think general practice is you always are better coming in on the ball than you are going back.
Yeah.
And the other thing, too, is when you're playing in a fenced facility, you can only go back so far, but you can come in most likely a lot further.
That's true. Yeah, I think you're right, though. 2 outs, I think I would stick with normal positioning. I don't know that I would. I mean, if the whole team was like, yes, this is what we want you to do, okay, I'll do it. But if it's up to the outfielders and we're having a conversation about it, I'm certainly going to make my opinion known that I think we should play normal depth. And, if anything, maybe we're in, but we're in 10 feet. We're not in 30 feet trying to make a throw or anything like that. But maybe just give them a little extra to the wall. Because, again, if they hit it back there, even if you can get to a ball that's either coming off the wall or right by the wall, it's a lot harder to make that play anyway, just because when the wall's there, sometimes you get nervous, and sometimes it's self-preservation. And not saying that it can't be done, because it certainly can, but if that's a low percentage play that you're playing back for, why not play up and get the higher percentage play if it presents itself? So again, it's all just what's the best situation with no perfect answer, I guess, is what you're trying to accomplish there.
Analytics.
Yeah, get your spray charts out, figure out exactly where they're going to hit, and then shift right to it. It's that simple, right?
Yeah,
it's that
absolutely.
Easy. Especially since when you go to tournaments, you've definitely seen all these same hitters. You've seen 1,000 at bats from that hitter, so you definitely have good numbers for him too.
You haven't even seen 1,000 of your own at bats.
I have not. I don't think I've had 1,000 at bats. I don't even know how long it would take to get 1,000. I mean, I guess we played a lot of
Sam's
meetup,
rate,
but
2 years.
Yeah, Sam, one of the guys we play on some of our teams, plays a ton of meetup. He played almost every weekend this year, and
2 games every weekend.
2 games every weekend this year, and I can't even remember. He had almost like major league season number of at bats. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous.
I wish I could get that many swings in a year.
Yeah, it'd be nice, but when you're 24 and you can just do whatever you want because you don't have any other responsibilities.
24. That's the number on my back.
When you're 24 years old. Badoom. We got dad jokes. No dads, but we got dad jokes. Thank you for watching, everyone. We really appreciate it. Depending on what platform you're watching us on, like, subscribe, leave us a comment. Anything you can do to let us know that you like what we're doing here. We really appreciate it. We'll see you next time.